Hello there, mummies, daddies. So this is just a quick video because I wanted to share with you my own personal experience, but I also wanted to share this because I know that there is a lot of this going about at the moment, and this is the whole boy girl. Are we having a boy? Are we having a girl? What did we actually feel we were having, and what the outcome ended up being? So whether or not we at our 20-week scans, most of us probably wanted to find out just to confirm what we were feeling ourselves. And it's not necessarily that we might have been hoping more so for a boy or hoping more so for a girl. It's actually, it's like this deeper inner feeling of what we honestly thought we were carrying. Some of you may have been connecting with the soul of your baby, like I was doing through the pregnancy from the very beginning. From way back before I even fell pregnant. And some of you, just had this instinctual deep feeling of what you were having. So to find out different can momentarily throw some of us off. And then these feelings of guilt start to emerge because you're thinking, oh, I feel bad because it's not that I don't want a girl or I don't want a boy. It's just that it's not what I thought it was. Now, there is an explanation for why many people are going through that and experiencing that at the moment. Many psychics, if you've had readings from going back 5-6 years ago, many psychics or mediums who may have predicted what they could see in your future, and told you the children that were coming, suddenly things have changed, and even those predictions are not coming into fruition. Now, I might have mentioned this in one of my previous videos, but for the last few years, probably going back about 6 years or something, 6 or 7 years, the soul of my baby to come began communicating with me, and it was my son. And over the years, he was telling me lots of different things, ways to nurture him, what his character was going to be like, what his direction and path in life, how I could support that. And then after a couple of years, my daughter, who is yet to come, started to draw in very close and started to communicate with me, and again started to share with me, how she is to be nurtured, the best way to support her for her path in this lifetime. And it got to a point and it started to really baffle me, actually, because I was like, oh, it's really starting to feel like the girl's coming first all of a sudden, because her soul feels so much closer. And this is going back probably about 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. And I was like, her soul feels so much closer. So is she coming first now? Like, I started to feel confused. But then I had a reading by somebody, and I didn't ask anything about this because to some people, even certain mediums, some things that I might say may still sound quite wacky. So I am aware of that. So I just, allow to flow whatever comes through that person if they're giving me any sort of a reading. And what they picked up on was the soul of my babies to come. And he said that he's feeling the soul of a child to come and that it was a girl. But then, and I smiled because I said, I've been feeling her soul really close lately as well. And he said then that actually she was preparing the space in my womb ready for her brother. So that's in 2 directions. First of all, sort of confirming that I'm having a boy and a girl, that there are 2 more babies to come. But that could have also meant one of 2 things. Either she was coming first, preparing the space, and then after her brother would come, or that she was just sending some healing and preparing the space, and for her brother to embody. Okay, so energetically preparing the space, and that she would still come after. So it was kind of like a little bit up in the air, but I felt at the time, okay. And I asked the person who was doing the reading, do you feel more so than which is coming first, the boy or the girl? And he said, no, the boy is coming first. So because of that, and because of what came through him, I was like, okay, yeah. So that gave me some reconfirmation, if you like, of okay, yeah, it is still the boy coming first. Anyway, at the end of 2018, about October, November time, I had some channelings come through that and for anybody watching this video back in the future, it is now 2020. It's April 2020. But at the end of 2018, I had some channelings coming through personally, and my etherical team, cosmic beings, my angels, all those that support me in the cosmic realms, basically were making me very aware of this huge timeline shift that had occurred. Now, this timeline shift, it was massive. It changed everything. And it was what they kept repeating to me, my people, my team, what they kept repeating to me at the time is everything that once was no longer is. Anything you have received of future outcomes, directions in life in the future, readdress it, go back to it, see if it still stands. Some of it will be, some of it is very different. And I was like, oh, okay then. And I shared this with quite a few people, because people, a lot of relationships started to break down. A lot of things started changing quite drastically. People's characters, energy, things surfacing in them, and my husband at the time was one of them that seemed to go through like a real dramatic transition and change, that unfortunately our relationship just couldn't get through. However, so there was a time when we got back together. We had a short breakup in 2017, but when we got back together at the end of that, it was like an absolute, this is it. This is how it was always meant to be. That there would be no separation. There would be no, this was us forever kind of thing. And this is what I'd always been shown. This is what I'd always been told. Even going back from long before I ever met my husband, I was told that I would meet the love of my life young, that I would marry him, have his babies, and that we would grow old and die together. And I think I was about 10 years old at the time or something. And, at the time I thought it was going to be Mark Owen, but no, I did get a better deal than that. However, so when we did split up in 2017, none of that really crossed my mind of things that had been said previously. But when we did get back together, that was one of the huge things. Metatron did some major work with me, some huge healing, forgiveness, lots of work that was delivered in this very dramatic weekend away with my beautiful friend Amber. And I literally came back a different person and was like, no, actually, I want to be with him. I love him so deeply. I will do, whatever it takes for us to work on at anything that needs to be done, and that it doesn't have to be this way. We can be together, that we can make this work. And we did get back together, and for a time it was incredible. It was beautiful. I was living the dream. And living the dream for some people might incorporate money and all these incredible things you do together, but for me it was just pure love, and it took me to a whole other level. And yeah, so when we got back together, it was honestly like, no, that's it, it's forever. And 2018, we were very fortunate. We had a wonderful holiday. We had some really amazing times away together, and some great experiences. But I was very aware of healing that I was going through during that time. Anyway, come the end of 2018, there had been a bit of a shift in the middle of 2018, and come like towards the end of 2018, I was shown that this, like I was given this prophecy, I was shown that there'd been this huge timeline shift. I do also believe that, things with the COVID-19 virus and everything, this is all part of this other direction, this other experienced reality that we're all going through now, is all part of this timeline shift that is actually, in the long run, accelerating our evolutionary state and where we are at on our own personal paths and ascension. But yeah, so as this was given to me, it was kind of like, oh, everything that once was no longer is. And then it started to become more apparent that me and my husband, that it wasn't going to be that we were to stay together anymore. Suddenly it was almost as if I was being shown other pathways and that I had choices. And so I had to go with what felt right in the moment. So having fallen pregnant come the very end of 2019, having fallen pregnant, I just didn't even think twice. It's going to be the boy. And actually it was the boy communicating with me. It was the son communicating with me, more than anything. So finding out that I was actually having a girl completely threw me. And I started to get a bit, not worried, I was just I was confused, because for weeks after finding out I was having a girl, I was still communicating with the boy. He was still there. So I had to address a lot of feelings. I had to really reinforce and state it to the ether, to my babies, like souls. It's not that I will be so happy no matter whether they're boy, girl, no matter how they are, anything, just as long as they're healthy and I'm able to support them, nurture them. But it was almost like just getting my head around, and I don't think people around me could really understand this, that it was just me getting my head around that I'm having a girl and not a boy. I was speaking to, a couple of weeks previous to finding out, a friend who is also pregnant, and we're about a week apart from our due dates, and she genuinely felt, and even when I was kind of having insight, I could see a girl with her, and she genuinely felt she was having a girl. And we were talking about, when we go into shops, I just feel so naturally drawn to all the boys' clothes. She was saying that she can't even entertain the boys' clothes, that she felt so naturally drawn to all the girls' clothes. I was saying, even when I was pregnant with my daughter, that's how it was from the beginning. I just knew she was a girl. And it was all the girls' clothes that I was drawn to. And obviously finding out just confirmed it all. So this completely threw me. It turns out my friend, that she's having a boy. She thought she was having a girl. And myself, I thought I was having a boy. Turns out I'm having a girl. But other people sometimes listening to you, when I'm saying but it's strange that I just felt the boy so close, and people listening to you kind of think, you sound almost ungrateful, and they're trying to reinforce it. Boy, it doesn't matter whether it's a boy or girl, as long as they're healthy. And yes, of course that is the case, and we know that. But what I actually found is that there was and I felt this for my friend, and also for anybody going through that. was that there is actually a bit of a grieving process we have to allow ourselves to go through and not feel guilty about it. If we genuinely, intuitively really felt that this boy or this girl was coming first, then we built a lot of our dreams around that outcome and around that particular future. When we were going into shops, we may have been looking more so at the boys or the girls things, depending on what we thought we were having. And suddenly everything changes. It's like, oh, okay. So now you've got to get, not only have you got to get your head around this, but you're rebuilding dreams again. But you need to allow yourself just to let the other dreams go for now. Doesn't mean that this little boy, this little girl is not coming. It could be another one that is coming in the future. It's just not the one that's coming this time. So just allow yourself to release those dreams and don't feel guilty about it. It doesn't mean you love the baby any less that is growing in your womb right now. So, and don't allow other people's confusion of not understanding you to make you feel like that, like you're being ungrateful, or that you're, that it's something worse than what it is. So just honor that, honor your feelings. So I do believe that this massive timeline shift that occurred at the end of 2018 changed a lot of things. It actually changed the direction of which souls were going to be coming to the earth at what time era. Certain shifts that occurred. And that's why it's kind of like a recalculation of everything that's happening right now. So yeah, it's not that we were necessarily wrong. It's just that because of this timeline shift, that things have changed. You might have felt for the last 10 years when you have your first baby, you was going to have a boy first, then a girl, then, and back then, what you were feeling into the future with was right for that time. But what now with this particular timeline shift at the end of 2018, it recalculated a lot of things, including the souls that were coming to the earth and at what time they're choosing to come here, for what their purpose is to the earth at that time, for what they are to fulfill in their own personal journeys, and whether the environment and external circumstances can support their own personal journeys as well. So all these big changes that have occurred. So it's not that you were wrong. It's just that things were different because of this cosmic realignment that occurred a couple of years ago, nearly, or just over a year ago. So yeah, allow yourself to just to let go of those dreams, to grieve them if you need to, and then start connecting with who is actually here now. Now, as I said before, I was starting to get a bit confused, and I was saying this to friends, like, but it's really strange, I'm still not connecting with her. She's still not really speaking to me. She's spoken to me in the past, going back 2, 3, 4 years ago. She was chatting away to me, she was telling me certain things, but since being pregnant, she's not actually spoken to me. And it was still the son who was speaking to me and guiding me. So once I found out I was having a girl, I was like, well, she hasn't told me what kind of birth she wants. She hasn't given me any particular guidance for anything right now, in the moment, during pregnancy, for when the baby, for when she's born, who she wants in her life, who she wants as godparents, just everything. And I felt really confused, but I have been made very aware from the beginning, from going back a few years ago, and when I've rechecked in with this recently, is that she is a very new soul to the earth. She is not a wise one of the earth that's lived many times over on the earth. She is a very new soul to the earth. She's in fact a Sirius star child. and will carry strong, serious codes and very fresh rememberings of a beautiful love that is being embodied on the earth as we speak, an unfolding process over the last 20,000 years of these Sirian codes really, really taking implantation to the earth, and in the way that we love and have compassion and understand each other and ourselves. So, yeah, a beautiful soul she is. As I remember with my own incarnation into this life, is that my full soul consciousness did not embody until the very end of my mother's pregnancy. So my full embodiment of my soul energy was literally the last sort of 2 or 3 weeks of my mother's pregnancy. Obviously, the soul blueprint was there long before the physical manifestation started to take place, and that is what the physicality of the neurons and everything that was developing in my mother's womb was forming around the soul blueprint, the energy that was already there. And it was forming in a way that was necessary for my soul journey, the wiring of it, how I am to be in this life, how I was to look, all these different things. So the soul blueprint was there, but the vast soul energy did not start coming in until the very end of my mother's pregnancy. And this can happen through pregnancies at different stages of pregnancies for different people, depending on the soul that's coming in, and for whatever reasons. Okay, so you might have the full soul body channel through the portal of the mother's womb very early on in pregnancy. It may happen more in the second trimester. It may happen, like myself in this lifetime, right at the very end. So I am aware of that, and for me, the actual consciousness, sorry, battery's running low. Yeah, the full soul consciousness didn't come in until the absolute very end, literally as I was coming through the mother's birth canal. And that is, in fact, for all of us, in that moment of birth, that is when our full consciousness of our soul really comes in into this world with us. So because of my own experiences and rememberings and different things, I am aware of these things. So, but I did just kind of feel confused, because normally I can pretty much connect with anybody at any time, spirit, angels, whichever I call in, and it's not something I've ever struggled with. But I was just saying, I didn't want to force anything. I just was waiting for her to start communicating with me. And then about a week and a half ago, I had a really beautiful moment where I'd just done some yoga, went into a bit of meditation after with no particular intention, but like immediately it was like, shoo, and she was like, "I'm here, mummy." And she started speaking to me, and in that moment she gave me so much information. In like a split second, so much information was just fallen into my conscious awareness. So many answers given that I didn't even get a chance to ask the questions. They were just given, like she already knew what my questions would be. And I just burst out crying, because it was the first time since being pregnant that I felt her soul so close. And yeah, it was a very emotional, very heartwarming, beautiful moment. So yeah, that was a sob, but a very happy, full of love sob in the moment. And yeah, so she has been communicating with me since, which is wonderful. and only a little bit, and I'm just giving her time because I am very aware this is, you know, she's going through a lot right now as well. Just, you know, getting used to life in the womb, this new awareness of the earth energy, just lots that's going on. So yeah, you know, it took a little bit of time. Shock, major shock when I found out. And it just felt like people didn't really understand where I was coming from with it. And I felt such a huge empathy and compassion for so many other mums who, you know, who were going through a very similar thing of kind of really, really, really believing that they were having a boy or a girl, and it turning out to be the gender outcome turning out to be very different. So yeah, it's not. So I just want to emphasize for any other mothers experiencing this at this time. First of all, if you haven't yet got to the stage of finding out the gender of your child, and you have a deep inner feeling, knowing that, yeah, I'm definitely having a boy, I can just feel it, or I'm definitely having a girl, just, yeah, have that. But try not to get too fixated on the outcome until you've had the scan, until you have had some other confirmation that it is in fact a boy or a girl. And then really, you know, once you've had that confirmation, then yeah, really allow yourself to run away with that then. But if you've had that deep feeling, and if the gender turns out to be any different to what you actually expected, it's okay to be in shock. It's okay to maybe just grieve for a moment what you thought was going to be, and redirect and start reconnecting with what actually is. Okay, so remember, it's not that we don't love the babies growing in our wombs any less because it's not what we thought was going to be. It's just, it confused us momentarily. It confused us, and we feel a little bit thrown out. And to a degree, the disappointment isn't with the outcome of the gender reveal. It's the disappointment that we momentarily feel in ourselves, like, how could I have felt so strongly this, and I'm so wrong, and we sort of beat ourselves up about it a little bit. We might have been telling everybody, no, I can feel it's definitely a boy, it's definitely a boy, or it's definitely a girl, and then you're sort of left feeling like, oh, you know, I told everybody that I thought it was going to be this. And so there's all these different feelings and emotions surrounding it, and just as we accept what is, we can then just start to realign that new direction. But hopefully some of what I said about this timeline shift at the end of 2018 that occurred had a massive impact on everything at the time as it was happening. Some people with a very sensitive light body and conscious awareness of these cosmic surroundings and feelings that are going on around them may have tapped into it at the time, but otherwise, you know, I hope some of what I've said helps to make some sense of the reality that we're living now, and also over this next couple of years. You know, for psychics and mediums, it's really hard to determine the gender of the soul that is actually embodying, because sometimes when you see somebody, say if you're doing a reading for somebody and they want you to predict the gender of the child before they know it, you may still be picking up on what was set in stone rather than this new direction and what actually is. And also, if the greater soul energy of that baby has not yet embodied, it can be difficult to also pick up on that as well, as to whether it's boy or girl. So yeah, just a few things there to share. But ultimately, for mummies not to feel guilty if your baby turns out to be the opposite gender to what you originally thought it was going to be. You don't love your child any less. You just felt something different for a while, and it doesn't mean you love this baby that is inside of you any less. Okay, so have no guilt, and I hope this video gives you a little bit of understanding in that perspective. Okay, lots of love to you guys. Goodbye.